Good morning, all. So today we are going to discuss one interesting topic. And for this particular topic, I am really thankful to my mentor, Professor Padmasri Shashank Joshi sir, because I learned a lot on this particular topic from him, and he is continuously inspiring me in this specific aspect. And when we talk about type 2 diabetes management, the holistic health, uh, we talk about physical, mental, social, and spiritual well being. I think this practice of supervised Suryanamaskar is extremely crucial to optimize health, and also not only the Surya Namaskar practice, the other yoga, they had immense influence to maintain a healthy life. So maybe for next 20 minutes, we'll try to cover this broad agenda. First of all, what is the relationship between sun and us? What is about the biological clock? Then we'll discuss about Surya Namaskar practice, effect of Surya Namaskar on type 2 diabetes, few evidences we will discuss along with some other yogic practice. And finally, we will also talk how spiritual health is important for us. And when we talk about yoga or any specific practice like Surya Namaskar, it is not only about that particular yogic practice, it is also important to address our life holistically to get the maximum benefit from that particular practice. First of all, when we talk about yoga or any this type of practices, we need to acknowledge one thing, that there is a difference between religionism and spiritualism. So when we talk about yoga, that is not confined in any one religion. This is beyond anything, because very purpose of yoga is to unite. We talk about yoga means we are adding multiple I. So it is not about me only, I only. So when we are adding multiple I, then we become we. And that is the simple mantra to convert illness to wellness. So let's start today's discussion. As we are talking about Surya Namaskar, we should start with worshipping or praying to Lord Surya. And our ancestors from the very beginning, maybe 4,000, 5,000 years back, had taught us the importance of Surya, the sun, in our life. Namah Savitre Jagadek Chakshashe Jagat Prasuti Sthitinash Hetave Troyi Mayaya Trigunatma Dharine Birinchi Narayana Shankaratmane. So, salutation to Surya, the only eye of the world, the cause of the birth, sustenance, and destruction of the world. These are the three repository, these three forms which we know from our spiritual literatures. The protector of three gunas, Swattva, Tama, and Raja. So, when we talk about sun, we need to acknowledge sun is the only source of light and heat that present periodically. So all living organisms, starting from plants to animals. All organisms try to adapt their physiology with this variable presence of sun to achieve the maximum fitness. And when we talk about all living organisms, inside the cell, all the cell organelles also try to adapt its function. And therefore, there is an evolution of an internal biological clock inside all the organisms, which occurs for adaptation to changes in light and heat. So this clock anticipates the day-night cycles and guide organisms in optimizing behavior, optimizing their physiological functions. And this 24-hour, the daily rhythm, which is generated internally, is known as circadian. So when we call a circadian system, address circadian system, we need to remember three important building blocks. Number one, there is a self-sustained 24-hour rhythm generator, or we can say oscillator. Then there is an entraining mechanisms that connect our internal oscillator to external zeitgebers, external stimulus. We can call it as timekeepers. That is the sunlight or light. Finally, after these entraining mechanisms, there is an output mechanisms for allowing the timely schedule of different physiological processes. So this is in the heart of this circadian rhythm, where we can find out the sequence of events during this 24-hour oscillation. So this is transcription, translational, feedback loop. We can see in absence of sunlight, the proteins, they behave in a different way. So they enters into the nucleus and ultimately blocking the production of period gene. The difference happened when we found some zeitgebers like sunlight. So the combinations of TIM and cry protein happens, which facilitates some specific transcriptions of proteins. So this is known as transcription translational feedback loop. And due to this loop, we have specific physiological action in specific time. For an example, at around early morning, like 6 a.m., our sympathetic nervous system is going to take the upper hand. The parasympathetic nervous system is going down, and we have hormonal changes like cortisol starts releasing. The RAS system, the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, they become more activated. So we will have a fastest increase in blood pressure. So early morning blood pressure surge will be there. And generally, we will have the highest level of alertness in this time. We have lots of testosterone inside us. What is one of the very important function of testosterone? To maintain the skeletal muscle power, health. And we know in the early morning, maybe after 7 or 8 a.m., we have the maximum muscular activity. To cope with that muscular activity, our body produces specific hormones. And maybe at around 6 p.m., we will have the highest blood pressure But that was not a very high surge. The slope is not that acute like morning. So in the early morning, due to this physiology, a sudden rise in blood pressure will have consequences, complications of blood pressure related mortality, morbidity, including stroke, including myocardial infarction. So that is why we need to address that early morning BP surge. Again, if we go back to that cycle, and we will find out that at maybe around 9 p.m., the melatonin hormone starts secreting, and that promotes sleep. So in the night time, maybe around 9 p.m., 10 p.m., our sympathetic nervous system activity will go down, and that is the time when parasympathetic nervous system activity will be high. So this is a clock, biological clock. But what happened? Due to different types of demands, we are ignoring this circadian rhythm. We are ignoring the internal body clock. So internal body clock regulates this 24-hour cycle of biological process in all animals, all plants. This is responsible primarily to adapt ourselves to light and darkness. And if we are sleeping at night and being awake during the day, that is an example of light-related circadian rhythm. So if we ignoring it, if we disrupting this, we will have an abnormal circadian rhythm. And as this circadian rhythm influences sleep-wake cycles, different hormonal release, eating habits, digestion, our body temperature, blood pressure, and other important bodily functions, the dysrhythmia or arrhythmia in this clock may lead to different types of disorders like obsessive compulsive disorders, sleep disorders, obesity, hypertension, all types of metabolic disorders, including diabetes. We all should acknowledge the great contribution of these three Nobel laureates who get the Nobel Prize in Physiology on medicine in 2017. Professor Hall, Professor Rosbach, and Professor Young for inventing this transcription translational feedback loop and its relationship with our circadian rhythm. But at the same time, we should remember the great Maharshi Charaka, who had written Charak Shanghita long back, 2000 BC, about the importance of this circadian rhythm, about the importance of maintaining this circadian rhythm in a proper way, to follow the early bird, not to follow the owl. That means go to bed early and wake up early, not to eat at the night time. The very concept of early time restricted feeding. Now, lots of researches, lots of randomized controlled trials are ongoing, and reports are coming out which suggest this early time restricted feeding improves the insulin resistant state and help us to combat against this metabolic disease pandemic. So Maharshi Charak also had mentioned the practice of Surya Namaskar is important for maintaining physical, mental, social, and spiritual health. So different rishis had mentioned in their literature about the Surya Namaskar practice, which is a complete physical exercise. These are the 12 steps of Surya Namaskaram. And in these 12 steps, there is 5 steps which is repeated. There is 2 specific tests like Ashtanga Namaskara, that is salute with 8 parts or points, and Bhujangasana. These are the 2 unique steps which does not have any repetition, but all the other pose, they have repetition, like just like isomers are having. So in different parts, we have this type of, we need to do this repetition. And of course, there is some specific mantra we need to chant while doing this practice. Someone may tell why we need to chant this type of mantra. But again, there is something called as be attentive. Attention is important while doing any job. So actually this mantra, the repetition, if we do, we will have a focus. We'll discuss the importance of focus in later slides. But at the same time, we need to have a controlled breathing. So breathe in and breathe out. That should have done in a proper controlled manner. These are few complex things which are beyond of our knowledge. We don't know. If we don't know, we cannot say these are wrong. Because yes, our ancestors had told this, and many specialists in this field can explain this also. So there are few important chakras inside us, and that is associated with anatomical locations which we know. And these correlations, the chakra anatomical location correlation and doing Surya Namaskar practice improves functions of various organs, as mentioned in this slide. If we dissect some evidences, because now we are talking about evidence-based medicine. These evidences are suggestive that yogic practice can help in ameliorating, in producing good effect in lipid profile, body fat composition in patients with existing coronary artery disease, and how sun salutations, Surya Namaskar, can improve the muscle strength, overall general body endurance, and body compositions. How the 11 months yoga training on cardiorespiratory responses during the actual practice of Surya Namaskar improve our cardiorespiratory parameters, make a beautiful conditioning of those parameters, and that help our patient in a various way. Next, another important study had shown some acute effect of Surya Namaskar on our cardiovascular metabolic health, how regular yogic training affects, or we can say the effect of regular yogic training on growth hormone, or another important marker of aging is dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate, how their change can be modulated with regular yogic training, that had been shown in this study. So combined approach of graded yogic training may be beneficial for maintaining the basal level of growth hormone and dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate in human body. So ultimately, this can promote healthy aging. There is two type of Surya Namaskar practice. I think it is always better to follow your personal trainer because the steps are crucial. And as we are now in the era of precision medicine, we should follow the mantra of precision yoga. So just like medicine, we often say one dose does not fit all. Similarly, one dose of yoga is not fit for all. So this particular study shows that Surya Namaskar has positive physiological benefits as evidenced by changes in pulmonary function, different respiratory parameters, muscular strength, hand grip strength, overall endurance, resting cardiovascular parameters, and differential effects of training in Surya Namaskar, like slow and fast manner. So the effects of fast Surya Namaskar were just similar to any physical aerobic exercise, which improves muscle endurance and power. Whereas to do the slow Surya Namaskar practice, they are similar to those yoga training, which fall in cardiovascular parameters towards the lower normal values, especially the parasympathetic tone become improved, attention become improved. In another study where they had shown, and this is an equivalent approach towards the management of physical fitness in obese female, just like other cardio training. So the Surya Namaskar training was effective, rather more effective, improving the cardiorespiratory fitness and upper limb muscle endurance. In case of Surya Namaskar practice, not along with that circuit training. So there they only improve the body flexibility, not overall the cardiorespiratory fitness. So another study had shown this could be considered as an alternative for aerobic fitness. So overall, if we just summarize, if we have a proper Surya Namaskar practice in a supervised way, so supervised Surya Namaskar practice that will provide physical and different physiological good effects, our endocrine functions will be modified. We can promote healthy aging. The parameters, lipid parameters can be improved. The joint mobility, the muscle activity that will be improved. And also it could have some ameliorating effect in lungs, liver, and kidney function. So we had recently published one paper on Surya Namaskar, unlocking the potential of chronophysiology for a elderly healthy heart, under the guidance of Professor Padma Shri Shashank Joshi sir. We had published in Indian Journal of Geriatric Care, where we try to dissect different evidences available on behalf of Surya Namaskar and how implementing these strategies, including the practice of different types of Surya Namaskar, we can prevent cardiovascular disease and maintain healthy heart that we had discussed. When you talk about its effect on type 2 diabetes, especially yoga, there is a very good randomized control trial published in International Journal of Yoga, which had shown better improvement in glycemic control as measured by HbA1c. And we know that diabetes distress is a new challenge to us. There also, yoga has its own ameliorating effect. It reduced anxiety, reduced depression, overall quality of life improved, along with other psychosocial parameter control. And this is superior to exercise alone. So yoga as therapeutic intervention for the management of type 2 diabetes, because it has some beneficial effect on glycemic and lipid parameters. There is one study ongoing on yoga TP, that means type 2 diabetes prevention program, among the people who are high risk. And very recent interim analysis was done, and it was found to be beneficial. In 2023, there was one publication on this program, and that had suggested some beneficial role. But as it is a long-term study, we need to wait maybe for 10 to 15 years, then we can reach the conclusion. Again, for the first time in 2022, September 23rd or 24th, like that, ADASD came up with this beautiful guideline where they had mentioned about the 24-hour physical behaviors for type 2 diabetes. So stepping, sleep, strengthening, not sitting, and these all steps are crucial. When we talk about sweating in Suryanamaskar practice, that also can cause aerobic activities. So Suryanamaskar can produce sweating. Next, when we talk about stepping, obviously the practice of Suryanamaskar remind us to increase the steps, not to sit, do in between relaxing some relaxations, stretching. Sleep is important. And as we are talking about Surya Namaskar, the chronotype of sleep came into the picture in a focused way. So again, in this literature, they are mentioning evening chronotypes, that is the night owl who goes to bed late and get up late may be more susceptible to inactivity, and they have poorer glycemic control compared to the morning chronotypes. That means who are following the early bird. That means goes to bed early and get up early. So the principle of Surya Namaskar is also targeting this type of habit development. And of course, when we practice Surya Namaskar, different postures, it promote strengthening because there are certain steps which helps in resistance exercises along with the flexibility and balance exercises. As we know, in diabetes, the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is extremely crucial. And there were studies which had shown if we do Surya Namaskar practice or different yoga intervention, that makes the LFHF ratio in a favorable way, so that the declining parasympathetic nervous system function become regained, and the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system activity can be maintained. So these all are few studies we had published, but one thing I want to consider here, because as we are talking about holistic health, because yoga practice or Surya Namaskar practice is not, it should not be considered as a sole practice. We should change our life we should change our lifestyle in a holistic way. And there is a role of mantra chanting. And why there is a role of mantra chanting, why we need to become more attentive, that we will discuss. It starts with this symbol of great Swami Vivekananda ji's contribution, Ramakrishna Mission. If we just look this symbol, what we can see here, there is a wavy water. So that wavy water is symbol of karma. Then we can see the lotus. Lotus is the symbol of bhakti. Then we can see the rising sun. That rising sun is a symbol of jnana, knowledge. Now this is very important. Everything is encircled by a serpent, and that is indicative of yoga and awakened Kundalini Shakti. If we have all this, that is the union of karma, jnana, bhakti, and yoga, then we will see the swan completely. And that swan in this picture stands for Paramatma. So the vision of the Paramatma is obtained if we combined karma, jnana, bhakti, and yoga. So this was the teaching of Swami Vivekananda. But when we talk about yoga and that in encircling serpent, in another literature, Swami Vivekananda is telling yoga and awakened Kundalini Shakti is nothing but our attention. If we have a proper attention. So he's giving immense importance to that attention or yoga. So he's telling in one side, if we have knowledge, devotion or bhakti, action or karma, we will not find out Paramatma. So Paramatma darshan will not happening. But if we add yoga, that means along with knowledge, devotion, and action, if we can integrate yoga, then ultimately our eye will be opened and we can see Paramatma. So that is the power of yoga. That means power of focus, power of attention, power of our concentration. These all are the power of yoga. And that is why Swami Vivekananda told, difference between an ordinary and a legendary person lies in the degree of concentration. If you have more concentration, you will become a legendary person. And the power of concentration is the only key to the treasure house of the knowledge. So it is your power of concentration that can help you to build up the treasure house of knowledge. It is our duty when we are talking about yoga, we also need to maximize the personal resources like attention, like our time, energy. So attention as the primary commodity, we need to emphasize its status as the most valuable resource. So that is the attention. Then we need to give importance of time. We need to acknowledge time as the next crucial asset. So first is attention, then time, then energy, because this is a key resource. To recognize energy as a vital component of personal resources. Most importantly, we need to isolate from distractions, the need to detach from the outer world and attach with the inner world for better focus and prevent self-scatter. We should develop strategies to maintain the concentration and avoid diluting the personal efforts. So these are the basic principles of yoga. You see this animal, it is beautiful, but it is also dangerous. So just check this cobra's gaze, the precision focus on the prey. This prey is Prey. If we do pray for knowledge, Pray for knowledge, that should also follow these principles, 3 principles. Just like cobra's gaze. First step, laser-like precision. That is the initial step of focusing attention. Then, not only attention is everything, we need to maintain that. So maintaining focus, steadfast the guarding. We need to be vigilant and poised, just like that cobra. And as they have a hood, just think about that, to make them only focusing on the prey. Selective isolation. Shut out all the surroundings. So this is the final step of deep focus. And these are the important component of yoga. So few important quotes by a great psychologist, Mihaly. The book was very famous, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience. So he had mentioned, most enjoyable activities are not natural. They demand an effort that initially one is reluctant to make. But once the interaction starts to provide feedback to the person's skills, it usually begins to be intrinsically rewarding. So intrinsic pleasure, the real happiness arrives. So when we talk about the best moments in our lives, they are not the passive one, just a receptive one. And during the relaxing times, the best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. So this is very important to note. For an example, I may be watching a Netflix web series from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. and then went to bed. I wake up later in the morning, maybe 11 a.m. or 12:30 p.m., like that. But after getting up, I'll be tired and I will not think my viewing that web series is worthwhile. That does not have any impact in my life. But same me, if I'm preparing this presentation, going through reading some relevant documents on this topic and preparing the preparation from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., that even if I am waking up at 7 a.m., maybe a 3-hour sleep, but that make me more happy. I become happier. So we need to understand this well. And just think about this great man. So he had scored 241 in Australia. But you can see he had not make any cover drive during that. Why? For that particular that series, he was becoming out while making cover drive. And that is why he stopped to make cover drive, despite the cover drive was the best shot by this great man. So how this happened? How that wonderful 241 score happened? As he had cut out from the other things, just giving a precision-like attention, like precision-like gaze. He will not make any cover drive in that particular match and scored 241. So this is the importance of attention. We know the story of great Arjuna. When Dronacharya asked what you were seeing, he told, only I am seeing the eyes of that bird. All the others, students of Dronacharya, was telling many things, but Arjun was that much focused. And that focus is important because the power of focused attention can help us to achieve everything. So applying full attention to all tasks is important regardless of their nature or importance. So when I am studying, I am making my attention. But when I am talking, chatting with my friend, I'm not that much attentive. Why I will become attentive? Because this is just a relaxation. No, we need full attention for other tasks also. Just like that, full attention for important tasks like studying. We also need to be attentive while we are chatting with friend, because again Swami Vivekananda emphasis on this disciplined attention. He was telling the concept of the mind forming habits based on how we use it. So our mind is a very unpredictable thing. It has unpredictable speed. It can move here and there. The potential pitfalls of letting the mind wander without focus, we need to avoid that. And difficulties in focusing when it is needed if the habit of inattention is formed. So later we cannot, when we need to read, we also cannot read properly if we are not practicing attention. So this is a practice. So reinforce the idea that keeping the mind under full attention in all activities, that is crucial for developing a disciplined and focused mindset. So when we are doing yoga, we need to remember that it is not only during that yogic practice, but also in our 24-hour life. So every action, we need to have that particular attention. So when we are talking about attention in quality of life, we need to think about this attachment and detachment in education. When I want to read, I need to attach with education, detached with any other things, other effective learnings that determine the life quality also, how the subjects and intensity of our thoughts shape our life experience. Just we had discussed comparing 1 hour of leisurely browsing on the Facebook with reading, and compare it with another engaging academic journal article. Just think, after having a leisurely browsing on Facebook, you will not cherish, oh, I had done a very good 1 hour leisurely browsing on Facebook, but you will definitely cherish when you will be engaged in an academic journal article for 1 hour. Just one story of a cancer patient, which was told by the great Swami Atmapriyanandani Ji Bhagavan. So he told story of cancer patient who improved their internal quality of life by focusing on writing. So if as a cancer patient, he was thinking that I am going to die 6 months after, oh, so much pain is going to happen. So internal quality will be ruined. But as he was focused on something else, which he loved, like writing, so that becomes more, that makes his life in a better way, the quality of life in a better way. And he forgot about the fear of death. So that is the thing, that is the role of attention in quality of life. And that is why we need to emphasize on transforming the mindset with mindful attention. So we know the John Milton in Paradise Lost wrote this: the mind is its own place, and in itself can make heaven a hell and a hell of heaven. So we need to control this mind's power in a positive way to shape the reality. This is again a very important, because we are talking about yoga. The self-esteem is important, and there are 6 pillars of self-esteem. Number 1, living consciously. The first step, We need to accept ourselves. And we need to have some self-responsibility. Why we are talking about self here? Because the self-belief is most important. So Swami Vivekananda told he is an atheist who does not believe in himself. So we need to believe ourselves first. Then self-assertiveness. So here we need to communicate properly, honestly, openly, but we need to be also prepared for rejection or non-acceptance. But we should avoid any manipulation or aggression during this communication also. Then living purposefully. What we are doing, that should have a proper purpose. And personal integrity, the morality should be there. Both the materialism and morality, these are important for our ethics. So this living purposefully and personal integrity are crucial. But 6 pillars of self-esteem, if you have, that is not everything. Yoga is not telling. Yoga is telling add something else with these 6 pillars of self-esteem, because Ravan also has these 6 pillars of self-esteem, but he is Ravan. If you add self-esteem with selflessness, because yoga will tell you, will educate you to add selflessness with self-esteem and make you a great man. So that is the most important step, to add selflessness with self-esteem. And that is why our Krishna told, be steadfast in the performance of your duty, abandoning attachment to success and failure. So we need to achieve that equanimity, because that equanimity is the called as yoga. Yogastha kuru karmani swangam tvaktva dhananjaya siddho asiddho samobhutva samattang yoga uchyate. So as we are talking about spiritual health, this is a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction with our own life. System of values, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-awareness, peacefulness, tranquility with dynamic emotional balance. We should have a morality, truthfulness, selflessness, positive emotions, compassion, and willingness to help and support others, responsibility and contribution to the common good, and successful management of everyday life problems and demands, as well as social stress. So this is spiritual health, and that is important for our diabetic health also. So FOMO, we are talking about fear of missing out. So how we can prevent that? Like focus on what you have. Again, the attention is the first step. You do some work which is worthful. Seek out real connections, real happiness. Try to find out that. And finally, focus on the gratitude. Thank you attitude should be there. So chronobiological significance is there. There are evidences with Surya Namaskar, but we need to address it comprehensively. The physical, mental, social, and spiritual health, and practical application when we make it in a proper way, like attention. So this is a picture we can see. Who is she? She is Radharani. She is worshipping the god Surya Devata. You can see in the back, the Krishna is hiding and seeing Radharani. But why Radharani is important here? And why Surya Bhagavan is important here? Because at the time of Samudra Manthan, when Amrit came, nectar came, so Krishna become Mohini Roop. Take that Mohini Roop and serving the Amrita to gods and Madira to demons. So with his Mohini Roop, every gods, they had some kamana inside their mind. Only one god was exceptional. He was seeing Krishna as his daughter like attitude, and that god was Surya Bhagavan. And that is why Krishna blessed him and told him that I will take the roop of Radha in Dwapar Yug and become daughter of you. And Vrishabhanu, the father of Radha, was an avatar of Raja Vrishabhanu was an avatar of uh, Lord Surya Bhagavan. So in Bhagavad Gita again, Bhagavan Uvacha, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Rajaguna Samudbhava, Mahashano, Mahapatma, Vidvaye Namiha Bairinam. So if you have lust, it is alone which is born or contact with the mode of passion and later transformed into anger and will destroy you. Know this as the sinful, all devouring enemy in the world. So we need to remember while doing yoga how we can overcome that lust, because lust is against the objective of yoga. Thank you once again. If you have any comment, if you have any question, you can put in the chat box. Thank you very much. Namaskar.